Happy Sunday, everybody. This is Danny Naz, aka The Pup, and I'm just going to go over a few stocks that I'm looking at for next week's market session. So I'm going to bring up my annotation tool, and I haven't really done too much charting. Some of these are already charted, others are not, but I figured I would leave the ones that are uncharted so that you can see a little bit of my process and how I chart. So let's start with Digital Turbine, APPS. This showed up on Ben Pattern Profits scan. And Ben does some great scans. If you're not following him, please make sure to give him a like, give him a follow. But he always produces some really great scans. He also is a TrendSpider user. So definitely check him out. So you'll notice on my charts, I generally will have this green line. So this green line basically is my 20 simple moving average. So if I take off my annotation tool and I can expand, you can see I have my anchored VWAP set up, my moving averages. I'm going to keep this closed just for the time being. But you can see that we have been riding this 20 simple moving average. I can pull it back. You can see how it hugs it. And we've had just a vertical launch here. So generally what we see is you see this volume shelf that's building right here. When we have some consolidation in a box, in a range, we generally will look for a breakout. And obviously we saw this and it went straight to the moon. So this isn't something I would necessarily be buying up here. What I would like to see is how our 20 SMA is going to ride, and potentially we can see price come back down and retest it. And that's where I would potentially look for an entry. However, we do have to keep into consideration, we do have this gap right here. Gaps don't have to be filled, but they tend to like to be filled. So just something to keep an eye on. I do like apps. Still looking into the company in terms of fundamentals, but I think you should absolutely have a look at that particular stock. Next up is ATHM, Auto Home. Been noticing some consolidation here. We have a nice W formation here, right? Now we did pull back a little bit, so it's not quite ready. We could see, let's see, we have a little bit of a, sorry, this drawing tool isn't the greatest, especially when you're using a trackpad, but you can see we have a little bit of a rising trend line right here. We could draw it out real quick, and looks like a bit of an ascending triangle. So what we could potentially see is something along the lines of this. So we've obviously came up and we tested $90 and we sold off. And then we tested again and then we sold off right back to our trend line. So we have our two touches, one touch, two touch. And now we're coming back up, and now we have basically a triple top. So you have 1, 2, 3 touches right here, 3 tops. So we are coming back down. We did lose the 20 SMA right here. I'm going to wait a second for this to clear. So you can see we did lose the 20 SMA. Now, doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's in a consolidation pattern. So like I said, we have this W formation. We could potentially come back down, retest, and then eventually break out. So the idea here is really just wait for 90.93, or give or take, around that. You saw we came up, we had 2 wick touches there. We had a wick kind of a false breakout right here, and then it did come back down. Make this a little thinner. And then we had 2 candle false breakout, and we came back down and tested the 20. So I'm just waiting for this to reach 90.93, and I think our target would pretty much be $100, since we are near the $100 psychological resistance level. So that's what I'm looking at for ATHM. Next up is DBD, which is Diebold. And I'm going to move out just a little bit just to give us a little perspective. So you see, again, we had that rising, ascending triangle where you have a rising channel and then it kind of have a flat top. And you see price kind of does this zigzag, bouncing back and forth. Eventually it pops out. Now we popped out right here, right to $8, and we're having a little bit of a flag forming right there. Apologize again for the messiness, but ultimately I think we are coming back up to this $13 level right here. So I'm going to let this clear out, and we'll zoom in on the chart a little bit more. And we can see that we do have this flag forming right here. And so what I would wait for is a break above 814 and then take the trade basically from there. All right, so next up we have DD. So that's DuPont, and you can see DuPont again. You know, we saw in previous in the previous, I think it was on APPS, we had that consolidation and then vertical launch, right? So, you know, one thing we could do is we could drop our wrong tool. We can drop our line here, right? So that's basically going to be our potential resistance. And what we're going to look for is a break above this level. So you can see we are consolidating in this range, which allows us to form this volume shelf. Now, anybody that knows me and knows how I chart and what I look for these volume shelves to develop. And something else that I feel pretty bullish about is we have been holding the 20 SMA for these last two candles. And we can, we could toss on volume and see, we are still, pretty much average volume. So there's not really much going on there. But what I'd like to see is an above average volume breakout right here. So that's pretty much what we're looking for. We are, like I said, consolidating within this range, which is very normal, very, things that we look for in terms of moves that we're ready for breakouts. So you can see we came up and now we're consolidating. And so what we're just going to look for is a breakout here and a continuation up. So watch DD, put that on your watch list, and let's see what we can do. Okay, next up is eBay. So eBay's been making some noise lately. I have some levels drawn out. Again, we see our flag formation. Let's draw that out real quick. And you can see we have a bit of a flag. So once we break over this $57 level, we'll start making our way up. So that's basically what I'm looking for in eBay. And you can see, again, we're building this volume shelf here. It's a very, very powerful tool that we use here on TrendSpider. Basically, we're anchoring our volume by price tool to our previous lowest low, and that gives us all the volume basically to the right. We don't really care too much about the volume to the left, because basically what we've done here is we've bottomed out, and the trend has now changed, and this is the trend that we care about. This is all we care about right here, and all these volume bars on the right is an indication of what these candles have been doing. And so that's what we look for when we're using TrendSpider. And the one thing I will say, we did lose the 20 SMA, and it does look like we are acting as resistance right now. So we're going to want to break over this 20 SMA and also over $57 to continue this trade. Next up is Guardant Health. Guardant Health has been playing with us a bit. You can see we've had this downtrend line here. We haven't yet broken over and held it. We did break here. We hit 87.59, but we sold off. And then on Friday, we came right back up and stopped. So our trigger will be 87.49, 87.50, whichever you'd like to use. But I think that's what we're looking for in terms of breakout entry. If we can break out over 87.49, I do believe we retest $100. Again, keeping in mind, this is our psychological resistance level, and psychological resistance is real. All right, moving on. Let's talk about IIVI. This also came up on Ben's scan. I've seen this before. I'm not too familiar with the company and what they do. So if anybody wants to make note in the post, I'm more than happy to listen to some fundamental analysis. But as you can see, we have been riding an uptrend line. We do have the 20 SMA that has been now curling up. We could potentially retest, the 20 SMA, and then we're looking really for an entry over 53.14. Over 53.14, we should start to rise, and you can catch some points above. Next up, JMIA. If I'm not mistaken, this is an African e-commerce platform. I believe that's what I was told. by my little birdies. Let's take off these anchored VWAPs. And so you can see I have Fibonacci levels built out. We hit that 1618, we hit the 2326, and then we came right up to this 2618 and we stopped. So I think this is going to be our next key level to break, $20.97. We were talking, Kara in our room basically had said, watch this under $16 after this run up. That would be a great entry point. And sure enough, right about 16 to 16.50, we entered this trade, and now we're off to the races again. So if you miss the bottom here, just watch $21. If we get over $21, we should start to make our move back up here to this 3618 at 2801. All right, so next up we have OKTA. OKTA was something we had on the radar. It's been a stock that I've traded multiple times over the last 2 years. If you don't know OKTA, they manage online login security. They're moving more into enterprise right now, but they do have a good growing customer base. And like I said, we did come up to this 225 level when we sold off, reached it again and sold off again, but we are holding this trend line right here. So if we stay in this channel, I'm basically just looking for a break over 225. If we break over 225, catch 5 points up to 230, then 242, and ultimately I'm looking at 250 for the target on OKTA. Next up, OPRA, OPRA Limited. You can see again making another flat top. We had this false breakout candle right here. That was a little of a tricky candle. And so, we have been riding up. We hit this top, we sold off, we hit the top again, we sold off a little, but we're holding the 20 simple moving average. This is just like a repetitive story for me. I like buying pullbacks to the 20, especially when we're right below a major resistance level. So if we hold the 20 and we can break over this 1079 level, that is our entry trigger. Okay, so that's OPRA. Next up, OTRK. As you can see, I'm doing everything in alphabetical order. It's part of a little part of my my OCD. I like things kind of orderly, which is, as you can see with my charts, I try and keep them as clean and simplistic as possible, just for my viewing pleasure. But also, I understand that it helps you all in terms of identifying what's going on. I see a lot of times, traders will throw on MACD and RSI and tons of moving averages. And listen, I'm not against all that stuff, right? I will throw my moving averages on there. I do like stacked moving averages. I certainly do use them. But when I present charts for you all, I really just try and keep things simple. I only try and keep on the chart what I feel is relevant to the chart, to the trend, and what we're looking at. So you can see with OTRK, we do have a rising 20 SMA. We were looking for a breakout at $40. We got it, and now we're off to the races. Now, I wouldn't be buying the tops up here. We are better off waiting for this to pull back possibly to the 20 that's going to ride up and flatten out. I think somewhere around $50 we'll probably see a retest, and I think ideally that would be our time to get back in. We can take maybe a quarter position here at 50, and then maybe another position here at 58, and then possibly another position here at 65 if we get there, and again off to the races. So that would be one way how I would play OTRK. Next up is Pinterest. Pinterest is a stock that we did really, really well with multiple times. We did ride this trend right up here, and I believe we got this breakout right here, sold it off here, bought the retest to the 20 here, played earnings with profit, and here we are in the promised land. So, we are forming a bit of a flag here on Pinterest, so I am going to potentially get back in just over 36.70. That would be my trigger on Pinterest. And you could see 36.50 with a target of 43 and a stop loss of 34. Let's see what's next. Roku, yay Roku. We did really well with Roku. We are in some positions right now, but have to say it is a little bit of a frustrating stock for the time being. Let me just check where my anchor is. I'm actually going to anchor. Let's anchor over here. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to anchor here. So you can see we are forming a bit of a launch pad here. We may need some time, Roku may need some time to set up. You could see we were in the symmetrical triangle. We did take the breakout entry here. We sold off into resistance at 167. And then I believe this was earnings here. We did gap down. We tapped our 151 level and we held 151, which for me, absolutely bullish. And look what happened on Friday. We tapped that 20 simple moving average and we held and closed over it. Now I don't like this long wick up here, but I think it's okay. I think we just need time to set up. I think that's what it's all about. Just give Roku some time to set up. Some traders may see this as like a potential, left shoulder head. Let's see if the right shoulder forms, and that's certainly valid. I mean, we can look at that. Neckline would be right about here. We could short it under 151. I'm not opposed to that, but at the moment, based on earnings and the numbers that we saw, I think we head to the promised land. Promised land being all-time highs and above. So like I said, just give it some time. You could start building a position. Options might be a little more tricky because we just don't know what the timing on that's going to be, but that's what it is, right? Next up is Tesla. Our good friend Tessie. Let me move my anchored view app or my anchored volume by price tool here, and you could see we are building a bit of a, let me turn this off just so we have a better sense of it. We are building a bit of a volume shelf here. So what I'm watching for, we have been holding this 1420 level, and we've been holding under this 1564 level, even more this 1535 level. So I think, this is the chop zone. I think it's a very difficult trade in this level right here. What we have to wait for is over 1535 and then over 1564 or under 1420. Under 1420, we can catch 1371, which is the bottom of this wick here. And under 1371, we can come down to 1266, which is this gap up base right there. So that's Tesla. Tesla has been a bit more difficult to trade. It's not something that you should be forcing to trade. There are easier trades out there like Apple on Thursday and Facebook on Friday. So, those are the types of trades that we take in the room. But, this is generally the research that we do. We take a look and see what's going on in the market, what's shaping up to be hot for next week. All right. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Next up is VRM. This is something else that I've seen. We had a recent IPO in June, and you could see we had a little bit of a range. We topped up. Excuse me 1 second. There we go. All right. So we topped up there, and we came back down, came up here, back down, breakout. So, we need to kind of watch and see. Now, we did have a nice run up here on Thursday, but then Friday, right back down. So, maybe we get a retest of this 59.17 level. That could be a potential long entry. Maybe we come back down here and we shoot off again. Or maybe we come back down here and we're back in our range. So it's just something we have to keep an eye on. But I do like this for a potential retest breakout or a retest and launch. So just something to put on the radars, maybe set your alerts and go from there. And last up, we have XP. So XP is another one that's been showing up on our radar. I believe it was also on Ben's scan. It's been showing relative strength. We have this pennant kind of flag formation here. Let that clear for a second. So we've topped up here. We came down. We hit that top again. We came down. And now we're topping off again, right? At this, basically, let's just call it $50, right? Because that's going to be our psychological level. So if we could break over $50, I definitely think we're on the move. And I see for XP, apologize for that interruption. And so these are what we're looking at. There's going to be other things that are going to be on the radar as well that we talk about in our room. If you'd like to get free access, just let me know. We do have a free aspect to our chart room. And outside of that, we do have a paid service where we basically give signals levels for charts. We run classes twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have an 8 p.m. Zoom call on Sundays, which we'll have this evening. If you are interested in joining us for that, we do keep about 10 to 15 seats open for non-members, so feel free to DM me on any of the socials and I will get that link over to you. So hope you enjoyed this analysis. Let me know your thoughts if you see anything different. I am not opposed to hearing other people's opinions. That's what we're all here for. It's not us against you, it's us against the market and us against the algos. So we're all on the same team here. We're all friends. Let's try and beat this market together. Enjoy your evening and we'll see you in the markets tomorrow.